Welcome back to Unshielded for part 2 of our special series with Charles Hoskinson, where we explore the Midnight Network. Let's get right back to the whiteboard with Charles.
Good to see you, Anthony. How you been?
I've been well. Great to have you back, Charles. Thank you so much for coming back for part 2. We want to delve into some specific real-world scenarios where Midnight's features could help. Do you have a particular use case or a particular example from an industry that you're familiar with, or examples of use cases that you're already working through that might help people understand the workflow, the data, the challenges, and the benefits of using Midnight and decentralized technology to improve something that's already a little bit broken today?
So I'll give you a great use case of doing it wrong. And this is the big guys. They do this wrong all the time. So we have this lovely company. You may have heard of it. Have you heard of Microsoft?
I have heard of them.
Okay, Microsoft just did something recently. Satya Nadella was very excited about it. He said, hey guys, we have this thing. Basically, it's like a recall feature. And the recall feature, what it's going to do is take screenshots of your screen every few seconds, and your computer will never forget anything you've ever done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect this to an AI system called Copilot. And that AI system, Copilot Plus, basically can take those screenshots and remember everything forever of what you've done. Yeah, that's no good.
Everything I've ever done on the computer screen ever.
Oh my, yeah, exactly.
With Microsoft and an AI for the rest of my life.
Yeah, for the rest of your life. So, so what we can do is just type in Microsoft recall and retrace your steps with recall. So this is their own marketing material, and you can kind of see like, wow, it's like a timeline, and I can just go back and forward in history and these things. So let's see what the news people have to say. Microsoft being investigated over new recall AI feature that tracks your every PC move. Privacy experts sound the alarm over Microsoft's latest AI tool.
So it's safe to say people are a little concerned about this one.
Yeah, I know, right? Recall privacy nightmare. Prompted privacy concerns. Yeah, all these things. Security concerns mount over recall. So there's two sets of problems here with recall. One set of problems is obviously the privacy side, because we don't know who gets that data. Where does it get sent to? How is that going to be used? There's an AI in the mix and it's analyzing it, and we don't know where it goes. The other set of problems is security concerns. Even if you trust Microsoft, what happens if Microsoft gets hacked? Do you feel comfortable with your business that every single thing that you've ever done with your business for the rest of time is going to be remembered and possessed by Microsoft locally or globally? And if Microsoft gets hacked, all of that goes to China, or all that goes to Russia, or all that goes to your competitor or something like that. That's pretty. Oh yeah, there's some challenges there. Okay, so obviously that's an example of a feature that's very dangerous. So why does Microsoft want that feature? Because we focus a lot on criticism, and let's talk about the value proposition. Imagine a world where you were watching a video 3 weeks ago and you can't remember the title of it, but it's really funny and you want to tell your friends about it. Well, if you have a Copilot AI, you just type in a prompt and then the AI brings that video up. Imagine you were doing a web search and you found a really cool website and you just can't remember exactly the name of it, but it's to buy some plants for your garden. You just prompt it and your AI instantly remembers that. Or you can ask a question to your AI like, how many hours did I spend watching cat videos, the last 2 weeks? And it comes back and it says 2.7 hours or something like that. Okay, so that's why Microsoft created this feature. While it's a privacy and a security nightmare, at the same time, there's enormous value to the end user, because you can get statistics on the time you spent on Facebook or Microsoft, how you were doing your computing in an organizational flow, what your employees are doing, these types of things. How efficient are they in a certain task? Especially from a UX UI perspective, you might want to ask, okay, if I'm using this type of template or spreadsheet, on average, how much time are my employees spending doing that? And then you can do A/B testing or these types of things. So there's enormous value to the user, especially in a world of AI, but that value comes at the expense of privacy and security. So the point of having privacy preserving smart contracts is that you're actually able to have your cake and eat it too, because it can't be evil. What you can do is design a system where you can get the same effect as if you were taking those screenshots every few seconds, but no one can ever see them. And you have a math-based guarantee that that's the case. It doesn't go to Microsoft, and you might not even be able to see them. However, the semantical context of it, an AI could potentially use as a consumer, and it can tell you how many hours you're spending on your cat videos. Or it can give you a rough idea of where that document is, or what you wrote in that email 3 years ago to Bob or something like that. The thing is that this Microsoft capture thing, this recall thing, this is the beginning that every single cloud platform is eventually going to adopt. Facebook's already pushing with Meta AI and what they're doing with Llama 3. Google is building capabilities like this for Google Docs with Gemini. Apple is building these capabilities. These are no longer going to be optional things. And Microsoft getting right now criticized, and they're going to kind of snake their way through it. 3 to 5 years, this will just be a feature, not a bug. Used to be when you had stuff like this, it was called malware. It was called a keylogger, this type of stuff. But now it's just a feature built into your system. So you really do need to have a system that allows you to do this and get the value without having the cost of this type of stuff.
That utilities shouldn't come at the cost of your own data protection or own privacy.
Exactly. And I mean, how many customers does Microsoft have? It has 3 billion customers. Yes, so it's not exactly a small actor. And this is the point of Midnight, is to solve these real world applications and use cases. It's not just about asset transfer, it's about workflows. And in an age of AI, you need a regulating layer to kind of sort out where all that data goes and, kind of how it flows through the system. So I look for a lot of use cases like this that are horizontal because these are issues that we have as a business. We have Slack as a business. We have all these IT systems, and these AI people come to me and they say, hey, if you turn that over to a large language model, you can do all this analysis and you can learn all this stuff. And I said, well, the problem is I don't know how my data of my organization is going to be used or who owns that. So even though I can get all this value, I'm not prepared to pay the cost as an enterprise. And that's what's true in AI. It's true in forensic accounting, thousands of things. There's so much benefit you can get if you can get what you have as an enterprise or as an individual and turn it over, but there's no mechanism to do that that's safe. And what Midnight is trying to do is build a framework where you could do that in the DApp and DeFi ecosystem, but as this technology evolves and private smart contracts evolve, a larger and larger set of workflows, you'll be able to maintain privacy and security while getting semantical value out of the data that you're extracting.
I like that. And it's sort of similar to the example of people sit behind VPNs today thinking, oh, my data is perfectly safe. Nobody else can see what I'm browsing, where I am, my location, any of this sort of thing. Well, the VPN can.
Yes.
And so how much do you trust your VPN?
Exactly. And then your browser also has a fingerprint, and then your operating system tracks a huge amount of stuff. And then there's hardware level backdoors that are inside your cell phone or inside your tablet or your PC. So that, that's another line of extraction of your private data and information.
So we need to be more vigilant, and people may underappreciate how much privacy or how much of their data is protected today. And again, we want this utility. The idea of going back and saying, what was that website that I was looking at 3 days ago? Or, tell me the really important number that I seem to have forgotten, or what was the address of the place that I stayed last time? These are things that are actually useful that we might want agents or autonomous agents to be able to support us with. But we don't want to have our entire history centrally located on a cloud server owned by one of 4 oligopolistic tech companies. Right. That's not a world that we would like. We would like the innovation to happen, but not at the cost of our sensitive data. And that's as true in B2B as it is in B2C.
Yeah, we saw that with TikTok, right? Yeah, where the U.S. government, oh my God, we can't allow TikTok to spy on us. But every social media company does what TikTok's doing. Yeah, but that's going to China. Well, okay, are you really certain that just because Google collects it, it doesn't end up in Chinese hands? Are you really certain just because Microsoft collects it, it's somehow going to stay in the family? Once you allow a centralized actor with not algorithmic, but social controls to collect large amounts of data, they forever remember it. And you only have to be wrong once for a major breach to occur and for all that information then to be exposed. And the problem is more and more gets recorded every single day. And the point of this type of technology is to start building connecting tissue to be able to pull these things together and put a privacy layer on top of it and make that programmable. And then make it commercial and make it shareable. And then suddenly we can start working our way through, like, where does the data for LLMs come from? Or work our way through, how do I syndicate all this different commercial understanding between multiple companies that don't fully trust each other? Or something as simple as, I just want to use the internet safely and privately. And I don't want, my hotel Wi-Fi spying on me, or these types of things, because the guy in the room next door is trying to steal people's identity and passwords. Identity theft in America is still the largest crime. It's over $50 billion a year, and we still haven't solved it. It's a huge problem.
All further applications and uses for people to take more attention to their data and data protection particularly. I want to build on the interoperability point you made there, or the connectivity part, and something that we talked about in part 1 of the Midnight origin story, which is the interoperability and the partner chain architecture. We talked about hybrid dApps. We talked about Midnight operating as a layer 1, but then also operating in some cases as a layer 2 for some of the more established chains that have a certain consensus, have a certain center of gravity. Could you explain to us or talk us through the architecture of partner chains? We know Midnight is going to be a partner chain of Cardano. That's going to be the first off the rank. Talk us through what that means and how that works technically.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with the cryptocurrency space, a lot of people know a lot about Cardano. And Cardano is kind of that weird Haskell cryptocurrency. It's far off in the distance. It's like Haskell, and it's got some strange code, and you hear formal methods and all that type of stuff. And it's very scary because there's a lot going on, and people aren't entirely sure what that going on means. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to have a framework, and that framework was a little bit more standard. And that framework allowed people to build basically custom blockchains. And this is not a new idea. Fabric does this, Hyperledger Fabric, Cosmos does this, Parity Substrate does this, and the Polkadot ecosystem. And what we said is, let's take a custom blockchain building framework, and then let's add a very unique capability to that framework where you basically can sell services to everyone, sell decentralized services to everyone. Because here's the thing, it's not really about building your own blockchain these days. Blockchain is a means to an end, but the point about blockchain is that you want to have a resource and a utility that you want to sell to people, whether that be Web 2 or Web 2.5, where they're interfacing with you through a wallet or a cloud server, or that be blockchain to blockchain, and it's purely native Web 3. It doesn't matter if you're Web 2 or you're Web 3. You have to have the ability to sell services. Okay? In the case of Midnight, what are we selling? We're selling this idea of being able to get privacy and security, but still be able to extract value from data. And that's a universally useful thing for pretty much everybody inside the dApp space. So the partner chains framework is basically a way that you can have Cardano sell its security, or Boris, the protocol that runs Cardano, was designed, and we call it Cardano CL in our documentation, but basically this service layer can be many different services that people offer. So World Mobile, for example, is going to become a partner chain. And World Mobile is a decentralized ISP. So it's a DePIN play, decentralized physical infrastructure, DePIN. And basically they want to compete with T-Mobile. And then you can also imagine a decentralized large language model, like an OpenAI competitor. You could imagine a social network. You could imagine an Oracle network, all these different types of things. But the concept is still the same. What are they providing? They're providing a service. And who are they selling it to? They want to sell it to other blockchains and dApps or Web 2 actors. And what we don't want to have happen is you have to understand how Cardano works, or you have to understand how that chain works. You just kind of call it like a back-end service. So Midnight is really the first mover in this philosophy of being a layer 2 to everyone. And what this does is it really focuses on that pillar of interoperability. And there's so many amazing things that are going into this partner chain framework to basically make it secure and make these transaction points seamless and trustless. And Midnight gets all of those for free because it's part of that framework and it's being built up, and they also get the security in that infrastructure. So from day one, it can do that decentralization, which gets back to that security model of how do we know it can't fail, it can't be evil, because it has that same security inheritance that Cardano gave it, and now it's able to sell that across the space to all the different blockchains.
It's a very compelling vision. I don't think anybody at this point in time would argue with a multi-chain, modular blockchain approach to the world. I don't think anybody who would come out at this point would say, no, I'm going to take over Ethereum, Solana, BNB, Base, and all of them, and I'm going to be a better blockchain than everybody.
Right.
But in this world, what do you think are some of the main challenges that Midnight and others are going to face of being able to deploy that computational privacy as a layer 2 to some of the biggest chains in the world?
I think the biggest issue is that, first off, with the legacy world, there's still a bit of stigma and friction and momentum behind this idea that blockchains are either not fit for purpose or there's some sort of libertarian pipe dream and they have no use and utility. In fact, you even see this with the White House writing reports saying, oh, they haven't done anything, even though we as an industry have, we have 400 million users and trillions of dollars of value floating around, but I guess we've achieved nothing. So there's misconceptional stigma that exists. The other issue has historically been interoperability is very expensive, time consuming, and hard. So we haven't had our Wi-Fi moment or our Bluetooth moment as an industry. The magic of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is it just works. You just connect to your Wi-Fi network, connect to a Bluetooth network, and you come here to the office from the UK. I'm in Colorado, you're in the UK. Magically, somehow, when you pull out your phone, even though it's a different telco, a different phone model, you're in a different country, somehow that's able to connect to the network and you're able to pull data. That's the power of interoperability, and consumers expect that. They don't want to have to do some crazy weird stuff to be able to use a system. And the issue is that the user friendliness of these blockchain experiences are quite rigid right now. So this won't work unless it's easy and it's simple. And really, Midnight is this amazing developers platform to sell this suite of services. So if you have to enter into it and understand the intricacies of zero-knowledge cryptography, we've done it wrong. You have to be able to enter into it and understand the intricacies of web development. And if we are at that level, we've done it right, because that's much easier to do, and it just works. It's just there. The other thing is predictability of pricing. The legacy world, they have budgets and they have small profit margins and these types of things. They don't live in crypto land where like the value goes up 100% and 200% every week. So I have to know what my Amazon Web Services bill is going to be every month. I have to know what my hosting costs are. I have to know what my IT budget is. I can't live in a world where the price of a resource goes up and down by 100% or 200%. So predictable pricing is another huge component of it. And that's another thing that we're trying to innovate and bring to the table. So there's a huge innovation in terms of the ability to communicate with other systems. That's hybrid dApps. But then there's also on the tokenomics side, a lot of innovation we've been working on and we'll talk about in the future that's about predictability of pricing. And how do we get to a point where you can actually use the system on a budget and understand that? And in some cases, you don't even have to have the token to use the system. This is the magic of it. I don't have to, when I use a credit card, understand much about that. And all those fees and that use case is hidden from the end user. So similarly, if you have to possess a cryptocurrency in order to use the dApps of that system, a lot of consumers will not have that entry point. They won't be able to do that. So how do you build a tokenomics system that can get around that? And I think we've made massive and major progress in a certain respect. And there's like great bridges that can be built between the legacy world and the other world. And the dApp developer can create new business models. They're very exciting. So it is our most innovative product that we've ever worked on. It's a technological tour de force, and it has some of the most advanced technologies, and it's a hybridization of a lot of great concepts. Like that blockchain builder framework in this case is a hybridization of some ideas from Parity Substrate, but then a lot of ideas from Scorex and from the Cardano ecosystem as well. And it kind of took the best of both worlds and put it together. And a lot of these bridge ideas come from over 10 years of interoperability discussions that we've had in the industry as a whole, and witnessing bridge hack after bridge hack and seeing all the things that didn't work. And there's all these ventures now like Layer Zero and EigenLayer that have these multi-billion-dollar valuations, and they're literally talking about interoperability and hybrid dApps and this concept of an internet of blockchains. So the time has come. The market's ready for it. And the barriers have been, is the technology ready? Is the user experience ready? And I haven't really seen anybody package all these different things together. It's so important that you have Minotaur and hybrid dApps and identity. And it's so important you have computational privacy. It's so important that your smart contracts are simple and easy to read and understand and easy to verify. And you hide the zero knowledge complexity from the end user. And if you can't do that, you're just dead in the water. It won't take off. It won't work. It won't get the developer adoption that it needs. And ultimately, it's useless to the end user.
And so it feels like about the right time. We're moving past the era of chain maximalism. We're starting to see interoperability and bridging become more common, become more secure, become more stable. We're moving into that world where I think you see where in Web 2, you see the SaaSification of everything, and you can consume services, you can create modular architectures. We're starting to see that become a little bit more common in Web 3, and we're starting to see different ecosystems become more open to the idea of collaborating, working together, and creating or enjoying the benefits of layer 2s or capabilities, liquidity, users, security from other ecosystems. And it feels like about the right time. Would you agree?
I believe so. The future is going to be decentralized, and we keep, beating the drum. We were first to market with a 3rd generation cryptocurrency, and this is the next generation, the 4th generation, multi-resource consensus, hybrid dApps, the identity component, computational privacy. These are some of the last mile features before we get to mainstream adoption, where you have billions of users. The final point is that people are still scared to use crypto, no matter who you talk to. Like the OGs like me, I've been in the space for over 12 years, to grandma, everybody says the same thing. God, I'm scared to send cryptocurrency. Like, I still do test transactions, and we check the address 8 times and these types of things, because there's no backseas in crypto. You can't have a money system, and you can't have a computing system where every single time someone uses the system, they're terrified to use the system because they don't want to make a mistake. And so if you want to have that great consumerization, not only do you have to make it beautiful and elegant and simple and easy to use, but then you also have to build it in a way where you can put regimes in place where there's consumer protections and safety. And you do get some backseas here and there. And to do that, you need to have a system that has programmability to it and has privacy inside of it. Because then you can build use policies, whether they be dead man switches or estate planning or multi-sig or what have you, and the system gets significantly easier, and you hide all of that complexity from the user, and they know it just works. And you can even create marketplaces for that, where people pay a little extra and they get that service. So that is one of our goals. And if you do that with regular cryptocurrencies, typically what you're doing is you're turning over all of your use cases to a third party and hoping that you can trust them, just like Microsoft with Recall. Maybe, just maybe, we don't want to turn over our entire Amazon transaction history to a third party, and they know everything you bought on Amazon. Maybe, just maybe, you don't want to turn your browser history over to a third party for some protection and safety. So the point of Midnight is you get the benefit of doing something like that, but you don't pay the price in terms of privacy and security for doing something like that. That is the last mile. And that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen that mainstream adoption, is we can't quite get there on the safety and the ease of use without a privacy layer inside the system. And that has to be programmable, because you can't predict ahead of time what those use cases are going to be.
Fantastic and clear. And that wraps up part 2 of our in-depth discussion with Charles. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your vision and Midnight with us. We've explored some compelling concepts. We've covered use cases. We've looked at the partner chain model. We've looked at why Midnight, why now, and the broader future for interoperability in Web3. Charles has also shared some exciting insights into some of the technology that underpins Midnight and what we've got coming for 2024 and beyond. For our listeners, if you found this insightful, please do subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We look at every single review, every piece of feedback, and that allows us to make the content better and continue to bringing you the content and the people that you love and the interactions around blockchain and data protection. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more episodes of Unshielded. Thank you for joining us, Charles. Thank you for joining us, the listeners, on this journey, and we'll see you in the next episode. Unshielded is brought to you by Midnight. To find out more about how the Midnight Network is helping everyone to build a more equitable and accessible internet, visit our website at midnight.network. And remember to search Unshielded on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode.